Now that we've finished up our animal designs, let's go back to the main tribal posters folder and open up the Spirit in Form poster template. I'm going to double click on it. You can see how in Illustrator this has already designed one single poster artboard. We want to design two different ones. So immediately the first thing I need to do is to make a copy of this artboard. With that done, let's go over to our Properties panel. Notice you can edit the artboards because nothing is selected. And I simply want to duplicate the board that's already here. So in order to do this, I'm going to hold down my Option key as I click and drag and move it over here. Now that worked because when I move it, I had Move Artwork with Artboard selected. And that way anything that's on there is automatically copied over. This first artboard, I'm going to call it poster number 1. And the second artboard, I'll call it simply poster number 2. Therefore, I got both of them, nice and named off. I'm going to grab my Move tool, and let's move over and just work on this first design. Now, in order to place our designs, one more time, I'm going to open up my little animal designs that I created, and I'm simply going to select one of them. So I selected my little Thunderbird, edit, and let's copy it. Jump over to the Illustrator file, and let's go up to Edit and paste it. That'll paste it right in here. Hold down the Shift key as you scale everything up to keep everything nice and proportional, and you can place it right in the center of the design. It's as simple as that. Let's do the same for this second one, bringing over our second design. So I'm going to select my B, copy it, Command C, jump back into our poster design, and I can do Command V to paste it in here. I'm going to rotate my design just slightly so that it's nice and vertical and fits nicely inside of this area. Now I've got both different posters. The next thing I want to do is to play around with its composition and certainly play around with the colors. Now, when playing around with colors, there are a couple of different things that you can do. First off, if we open up our swatches panel, you can do this easily by going up to Window and locating these swatches from here. Remember, you could use the default color swatches that are already present, or if you wanted to open up some other libraries, you can click on the libraries down below, and here's where you can find a variety of other different styles of libraries that could be applied to your design. You don't have to keep it the same colors for everything. As a matter of fact, I want you to play around with it. Just remember, traditionally black and white and up to 3 different colors can be used in your design. Let's choose the foliage one just to give an idea of what this would look like if I used these colors. In this case, these are nice greens and a few reds to pop. If I scrolled over by clicking on the little plus or the forward or back arrow, I can also see some other color designs. These give me a good little more variety to what I'm working on. I kind of like these. With them selected, I can easily go in and I can select my artwork and be able to choose these colors. Now this would take a little bit of time. Let's see, I'm going to zoom in and choose it and be able to colorize it this way. Another thing I could do is if I selected my artwork and I wanted to quickly and easily fill everything in, I could take these color swatches and drag them into my swatches panel. So let's say I chose a couple of different ones. I'll choose these and I'll choose these and put them up here. With my artwork selected, I can use my paint bucket tool, which is hiding underneath your shape builder. So the live paint bucket allows you to click on an area and turn it into a selected area. Remember, with the paint bucket, you can also use your arrow keys, you can go in and you can select the color that you want. There it is. And now you can use your arrow keys to move over left or right in whatever color group you have selected. So if I wanted to stay in this color group, I can select these and quickly fill in everything. We'll choose this black. And then I can arrow over to choose a different color. And I can fill it in with those colors very quickly as well too. Again, this would take a little bit of time. Sometimes these little dots get in the way, so if you wanted to hide them, you can go up to View, and let's change or hide the edges of it by doing Command H, and that'll turn off the edges. It's still selected, it's just not visible at this time. And then once again, just go in and start to fill in those colors as you work with these. All right, with this done, that didn't take very long at all to be able to select and fill in and even adjust any of the colors that I've put in here without having to recolorize all of my artwork. I actually see a couple of little pieces that I missed. So that paint bucket tool is one quick and easy way that you can fill in an area. Another thing to play around with would be the recolorize tool. In order to do this, I'm going to select all of my artwork by clicking and dragging over all of this. Then we can go up to our control panel and choose recolor. If we need to, we can close out our swatches and maybe move them over to the side. We'll minimize these too, bring them down so they're out of the way. There we go. And again, it's going to give you an option to be able to see all the colors that are present on here. Notice there's lots of gray, and there's also all the colors that I've placed into this. Now, if I click and drag around, you can see how it's going to shift all of those colors and give me some slightly different variations. But it doesn't necessarily shift the colors that are gray. We need to be able to colorize those. So let's give them some color. Hey, one quick and easy thing you can do is to choose the color library from up here. And since we use the different tones that were found in nature, in that case I chose, I think, the seasons or the landscapes, very quickly you can see how it forces color into a specific area. I can also unlink these, go in, and be able to drag and change a specific color right where it needs to be. Finally, if I need to, I can shift the colors over to make them more or less saturated. And then I'm trying to get those gray tones to be a specific thing. There's all the grays here in the middle. I'm going to move them around until you can see it starts to colorize here. A final thing that you could do is to do the generative color. Clicking on this allows you to type in a color prompt that you want. So if I wanted to, I can do Native American Sunset or something like that. I'll hit generate, give me a couple of ideas. I can click on these ideas, and then very quickly you can see how everything is nice and colorized. One thing that it didn't change, you can see, are the lighter white colors, and it also didn't change the color of the background that's on here. So it may not get every single color. This is where you can go back into recolor, and then you can unlink them and start to drag these on to be a specific color itself. Playing around with these is one quick and easy way that you can recolorize this particular artwork. We'll click away to lock in that transformation. Finally, of course, I can go in and select things, and I can dial in exactly the colors I want for specific things that may not have gotten exactly what I wanted. Let's play around with these colors as well too. Another way you can use color is to pull in colors from photographs. I can use one of these tribal photographs as a starting point. So for instance, I can bring in this one and have it placed here, or let's bring in another one. Let's see what this one would do if I placed it within my design. Whoops, didn't mean to drag that off. Let's put it back up here the way the Lord intended. There we go. Once again, I'm going to select all of my artwork on this design. I can go up to recolor it under under edit, edit colors, and choose recolor artwork. And then from here, I can tell it to use my color theme picker. With color theme picker, I can choose an artwork, and it'll automatically start to pull those colors from the artwork. Now, when I do this, notice that it colorizes this, but it didn't get this one object. Here's why. If this happens to you, here's how we need to fix it. This object is inside of a special little isolation envelope. Remember, it's mirroring what's on one side to the other. In order to break this envelope, we need to expand it. So with it selected, I'll go up to Object, Expand, and tell it to expand the fill and object from here. Now that it's expanded, it is inside of its own little clipping mask, but I should be able to recolorize it now. Once again, I'll go to my recolor. If you don't see it over here with it selected, you can go to Edit, Edit Colors, and choose Recolor. We'll choose our color picker and then click on the photograph that we want, and it automatically colorizes those. A final thing you can do to play around with colors is to simply randomize your colors. Doing this can change the color order, so clicking on those will give you some different little results, some better than others. You can also randomize the saturation of them. This again will give you some different results. Hey, before I get too far, let's go ahead and select all of my colors, make sure everything harmonizes well. So with everything selected, one more time, let's go over to Recolor. I'm going to pick my color picker, color theme picker. I'm going to choose this artwork down here and see what it comes up with. That's pretty nice. With that done, I can move my colors around till it gives me some different results. I can tell it to randomize the saturation of it, or I can tell it to randomize the colors that are in here. I kind of like the looks of some of these. That's actually looking nice and really funky. I want to pick up maybe on some of these yellows and place it inside of my design. So with that done, I can select all of my artwork. If I wanted to save these color swatches, I can open up my swatches panel and I can tell it to add the selected colors to the swatches. That'll add all of these swatches up here. There's that yellow that I like. Let's see if I can incorporate these into a design. Oops. So with it selected, once again, I've broken this apart. So I'm using my direct selection tool to select part of my bee. And I'm going to choose the yellow to be able to colorize it here. Let's do the other same thing on the other side. Notice I've turned off my edges. So I'm going to go to View and tell it to show the edges so I can see what I have selected. Now I can work with it. I can recolorize it this way as well too. I'm liking this color, so I want to be able to use it and incorporate it into my final design. Just make sure we've selected what we're working on. That looks good. Maybe we'll incorporate it into this up here too. Yeah, that looks good as well. Maybe these two little things. Aha. Notice that it filled in the entire background. What you're seeing here is actually the clipping mask that masks off the reflected areas. All that is just a simple no fill, no stroke shape. And so if that happens to you, you can simply undo it and then carefully select the objects that are inside of it to be able to colorize both of those. Let's get both sides of them and colorize each one. There's one half, and then click on the other half and colorize that one. So far, so good. I'm liking the look of both of these. We'll select both sides of my bee. See what it looks like as a darker bee. I'm liking that. And then finally, I'm going to choose my background here. Let's make it a simple color. And now I've got two different colored posters that are ready to be used for my design. If you want to be able to preview what these would look like once they're printed, you can go up to View and tell it to do the Trim View. This will trim it off and show you what it would look like if it's been trimmed down off the bleed edge. Let's go up to File and we'll do a Save one last time. And make sure to upload this one file of both of your poster designs, both each two different color schemes, to the class page.